the number one room of training, the recruiting room, because recruiting does solve all problems. Okay, whatever your problems are, they can, unless it's an illness, which I promise you, me of all people understand, or you are going to prison. Those would be the only two that recruiting can't get you out of. But recruiting solves all problems. I appreciate everyone's time and selection for meeting choices today, because you could have selected any other meeting, but you decided to learn more about recruiting. And I am a 24-year-old nut that you guys entrust with your development in business. And I do not take that lightly or for granted. I do appreciate you guys entrusting me with that, given my age. But I had a really good mentor, a few of them. Samir, Dante, Shaq, Brett, all of them directly and indirectly had to deal with my development. And one of the things that they always used to ask me is, what did you do today to move your business forward? Josh, what did you do today to move your business forward? Okay, not yesterday, not the day before, not in the week, but today. And if the answer was not sufficient, no matter how much I said I wanted to be free, no matter how much I said I wanted generational wealth, passive income, my activity and my actions didn't show it. So therefore, my actions spoke so loud to Dante and to Samir and to everyone else that they couldn't hear what I was saying. So what do I mean in terms of like numbers? If, first of all, and this is going to have to do with a lot to do with our training today. Who wants to know how to make 50 cash flow, 50,000 a year of business income? Okay, or to 100,000 a year of business income, because business income is way more different. And that's why I was having issues texting you back, Shondell. I just got off an interview with someone on my flag football team that's 29 years old, and he makes 130 grand a year as an engineer. But he's the coolest dude in the world, and he's in shape, plays football with us. And he wants to get into real estate investments. He's already got 2 properties. So I asked him, I'm like talking to him like, what's the difference between 130K, a year at his job versus in business, right? And that has to do a lot with our training today. But another thing that has to do with that is who you surround yourself with. Who are you letting in your ear and who you're talking to? For me, it was the regional vice president of our base shop. Who is the regional vice president of your base shop? That is the person, in my humble opinion, that you should be allowing in your ear, your eyes, not social media too much, not Netflix, right? More than anything else is your regional vice president, because they know, they have everything in their heads that you need in your head already. And when they ask you, what did you do to move your business forward today? And you say, well, I sent out a couple messages. Well, I got busy. Well, I couldn't. Why? Because I was at work. What you're saying when you say, but Josh, I want to be a RVP, but Josh, I want an asset that yields me more dividends than monthly than my job ever could, is not, it's going on deaf ears more and more and more when you answer that way. Because what your actions are speaking so loud that we can't hear what you're saying. So if you don't tell me, or not me, but your regional vice president, Josh, you talking to your regional vice president, you say, I booked 3 to 5 recruiting appointments today. I booked 1 to 2 QAs today. I did 2 to 3 recruiting appointments today. I did 1 to 2 QAs today. If it's not somewhere along the lines of those 4 things, okay, I got 10 new contacts, 5 to 10 new contacts today. If it's not somewhere along these 5 lines, okay, you daily, you don't want to truly, and I don't care what the reason is. Do you know why I don't care? Because your bills don't care, because your kids don't care, because their stomachs don't care, because the IRS don't care, because the marketplace doesn't care. So therefore, guess who else doesn't care? Me. Because if I care, then I'm encouraging weakness and lack of attaining results. So if it's not those 5 things at the end of the day, then you are not truly in alignment with what your desires and your words out your mouth are. Shondell and I have something called Delta Force, and it's our core group. And we have our core group post every single day through a pre-made, thing on Telegram that Shondell made. And we just plug the numbers in for that day. And if you miss 3 days in a row, you get kicked off, as you should, because it's difficult to, I'm sorry, it's not difficult to hold yourself accountable to moving your business front forward daily. Guys, there's this thing, it's called success, and it's not owned, it's leased, and rent is due. Guess how often? Daily. Not every 3 days. Well, success, can I have what do you call it? An extension? No, doesn't work that way. It's due daily. Well, success, I had a rough day at work. Nope, success doesn't care. Well, success, I've got an illness. Success doesn't care. I carry within me, and I don't say that. I'm bringing this up now because I believe I want to take away excuses. When Juan Carlos comes and does our winners incentive, he's going to take away a lot. Probably every excuse there is. But in regards to, I carry an autoimmune disease within me that I've had since I was 19 years old. And Shondell knows about it. Lelix knows about it. It's very difficult sometimes. Yet somehow I'm still able to keep the numbers up. You know who really took away that? Freaking, Lisa Jones, who got cancer. And income dropped down to 150, got it all the way back up to 500,000. Now that is taking away excuses. Just the key takeaways from this introduction this morning is move your business forward daily with actions and activity. Well, Josh, today's Saturday and I've got the kids and I've got this. Hey, no one cares. No one cares. The marketplace doesn't care. If you you just got to get really good at time management. The great thing about business is you can do in 3 hours what it takes an employee 8, 9, 10 hours to do at a job if you're focused. Okay, let's get started. So cash flowing 50 to 100,000. This right here is a precursor to becoming a regional vice president. If you want to be an RVP, I believe before you become an RVP, you have to cash flow 50 to 100,000. And in Primerica, when you cash flow 50,000, they give you a watch in a year. When you cash flow 100,000, they give you a diamond ring, or better yet, a ring with a diamond in it. And why is this a precursor? Why do you need to do this before becoming a regional vice president? That's what we're here to talk about today. But, you know, how to do it, Shondell is going to go over that. Shondell is already gotten the watch. She's already cash flowed 50K. Okay. And she has done it through recruiting and field training. So if anyone is a great candidate to talk about that, it's her. So let's see what she's got.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. So I'm going to start off with a couple points and then get into the numbers on how to do it really fast. But guys, just like Josh said, a lot of you guys came here to become regional vice presidents, and you got to do the right things. So a lot of this was this training came to fruition through our double-digit recruiting call when we met with Bruce, and he was talking to us about what you need to do on a regular basis and what you need to do to be a great vice president and what you need to do before that. So as far as it goes, I mean, do you have what it takes? Are you thinking about the right things on a regular basis within your business? So the first thing that he asked, which I think was very, very eye-opening, that a lot of times people that are doing well in the business, they don't really think about too often. But he asked us, how did you know when you were going to actually do this business? Like, how did you know Primerica was going to be it and you felt you could do it? Like, you could do this business, you could go full time, you could make the money, you could make 50K, you could get the ring, you could become a vice president. How did you know that you could do that? And it was crazy because everyone went around and they all started saying similar things, but no one knew that that question was coming up. And so he said his major 2 points is that you have to be independent in one way or another. So what do I mean by that? You've gotten to the point to where either, like for me, it was when I did my first QA presentation and closed the sale by myself. It's awesome. Dante's on here and he watched that progression. Guys, I did not move quickly. I did not move fast. I was very nervous. I learned the words, but doing a presentation and closing a sale took a little while, right? But other than that, guys, like once that happened, then you get the belief that you can do it. Because if you can do it once, you can do it more than once. And then if you get really, really good at it, you can teach other people how to do it. So that was huge, guys. So one of the major things that they were all saying is that, oh, when I got my first solo sale, when I got my first recruit, and I did it by myself without my trainer. So Bruce said one of the major things is when you become independent and you can do those things on your own, you have the capacity and belief in yourself that you can do what's required in the business. Those are the only 2 things you need to do. Close a sale, get a person started, and then teach other people how to do that exact same thing. So that's usually a major part. Now, the second part of it, he said, was you need to be independent, but you also need to be tough enough. You need to be tough enough to get through the daily grind, right? The daily grind. Like, how are you tough enough? You gotta be self-improving properly, right? And Josh is gonna talk about that a little bit as well, but you gotta be tough enough. And Josh and I have these conversations all the time. Like, we talk to people in appointments or interviews, follow-ups, and they're like, oh my God, my week was so crazy. Wow, this and this happened. Blake hit the fan this week. Oh my gosh. And it's like, what? Dude, nothing happened. Nobody died. Nobody got sick. Nobody went to the hospital. Like, you're okay. You're gonna survive. But people don't have the mental capacity to take on the things they need to take on a regular basis, right? Number one, you gotta step yourself up, right? But you got to be tough enough to get through the business, right? And our business, to be honest, is not that tough when you think about all of the other businesses out there. Guys, there's so many other businesses out there where people have to give up everything they own to start the business. They lived on the street in their cars, all of that. All we have to do is hop on a Zoom. We just hop on a Zoom and talk to enough people. So that's huge, guys. Do you have what it takes? Next thing is you got to be wide, right? And so he talked to us about having true width. So true width means how many people on your team can independently close that life sale and get a recruit. Because a lot of people think being wide is like, oh my gosh, I have 15 directs. Great. I recruited 15 people. They're showing up to training. That doesn't mean you're wide. Because if you're doing all of the sales and writing all of the sales for them, they're not really independent, right? You're doing the work through them, but the goal is to stop working, right? So we got to get these people independent. So ask yourself on a regular basis, how many people on my team do I have that can independently put their name on a sale and get somebody started? Then monthly, you want to be asking yourself this as well. I mean, we're coming up to the end of the third quarter, but you got to ask yourself, who's on deck? Who is on deck to be my next true direct, right? That's independent. Who's on deck? So how do you know those things? Number one, did the person get licensed? If they can't get licensed, they can't do the business. Plain and simple. So you got to master licensing. Is the person getting licensed or about to get licensed? Are they getting better daily, mastering their presentation, overcoming objections, all the things that they need to do on a regular basis? And then are they self-improving? They have to self-improve. The people that you want to become independent, you got to give them something to listen to or read or think about and then check in with them. So that's critical. Then perfect your transferability. What does that mean? Here is, you're building a business where you have to have an absolutely amazing system where people can come in and take everything in your brain, learn it, use it, and then also pass it on. And you got to ask yourself within the last month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, how many people have you been able to pass what you have in your mind to? How many people have you been able to do that successfully? And how do I mean successfully? They have been able to transfer it to somebody else. That's huge, guys. So you want to build people up to different levels. Josh is going to talk about legs, but you got to get people first to start doing 5 by 5. We would prefer somebody to do 10 by 5, right? But start doing that and then get to 10 by 10. And that, I mean, when you start thinking about these things, guys, this is really the business, right? Recruiting and building and developing people is the business. So let's talk about 50K. 50K, $50,000 a year in business from scratch, right? You didn't have anybody give you clients. You had to build and develop it yourself. So when you think about it, 50,000 a year is only 4,200 a month. 4,200 a month. So how do you make the 4,200 a month? There's a lot of different ways to do that, a lot of different ways. But let's say you're just a district leader and you're at a 50% contract. All you got to do is write 10 sales, 10 average sales, $1,000 in premium, 10 sales, you're at a 50% contract. That's at least $5,000, right? So that's one easy way to do it. Now, number two, you definitely want to get securities license, because you can do a couple good securities transactions and make $1,000, $2,000 per transaction, right? So with that, you got to get your 10 sales coming in mainly. Now, where is this going to come from? It's going to come from recruiting and field training new directs, or going deep through your directs and training the team below them, right? So what should be your goal? You want to do 20 appointments in a month, right? Because if you guys know the numbers, how many appointments you have set, you're going to go on 50% of them and close 50% of them. So weekly, that just means you need to complete 5 appointments a week. So Josh talked about a thread that we have on our team, but I don't know if you guys know this, Shaq has a thread as well called Inner Circle. And if somebody has produced 10K, then they're on that thread. I think, is it 10K personal? Yeah, I think it's 10K personal. So if you done 10K personal, then you're on that thread and it's a higher level of accountability. But what he tells us week after week after week is that we need to complete a minimum of 5 appointments a week. Complete, not set. If we're going to complete 5, you probably need to set 10 or more. So complete 5 appointments a week. If you do that, you will do 20 appointments in a month, sorry. And then you'll get your 10 transactions if 50% of them close. So where do those appointments come from? Recruiting. So when you get one recruit, you got to get to the point to where you can be really good at that one recruit producing 5 to 10 new qualified appointments for you. So number one, recruiting someone, being able to do a good fast start meeting and then navigate their market, figure out who's qualified, get them to set appointments. On these appointment setting blitzes, you got to get people to set appointments. In the fast start meeting, you got to get them to set appointments right away, right? Because there's only 2 reasons you hire somebody: for places to go, number one, and 2, to find new leaders. So when you recruit that person, it's not to say, hey, I got this IBA. It's like, hey, let's get to work. Who do you know? We got to get some appointments set. You got to see the business. You got to learn what I'm doing. The theory has to become reality. So that's number one. Then that recruit should also bring in 3 to 5 new recruits. You got to go deep through these people, right? You have to have an insurance policy. You did all that work to get that one recruit, but if you don't recruit under them, like, think about it, guys, most people are going to quit. So if you don't recruit somebody under them right away, then all of your work is kind of like down the drain. So you got to always be recruiting deep under people. So if you get one recruit, that should bring in another 3 to 5 recruits. And if you bring in all of those recruits, one recruit, 3 to 5 new recruits, and you're building, let's say you're getting 3 under them. I don't know all the numbers, but when you look at that, guys, when you think about training people, that's a lot of recruits. If you have 5 to 15 people that you're training, that should be the goal at every scenario. We met Neil Gerfine at the convention, and he just said one thing to me. He just said, make sure you are always training 8 to 15 people at a time. 8 to 15 people at a time. Why? Because if you're training 8 to 15 people, you think about the Pareto principle, the 20% rule, only 2 to 3 of those people are going to actually be taking you places. But if you're training a lot less than that, then you may have one person potentially taking you on appointments, and then every single week you're not getting to your 5 appointments complete. So with that, if you're recruiting and you're going deep through people, now you should have pods of people that you're working with at all times, right? It just continues to blow my mind, and we're not even as great at it, but like there's people that are like 7, 8 deep for me. It just keeps going, guys. And Josh is like, obviously he's one of the major people that are doing that right now on the team. He's just continuing to work through and through and through and through people. And so that's really also too how this is going to come into fruition. But you want to do that, guys. Continue to train people, because when you hire people and you train them, that's where these 10 appointments are going to come from. And then you should be making at least 4 to 5 grand a month. If you can do that and then transfer that, now you know that, hey, I can make the money that I need. Bruce said there's 2 things you got to do in order to go vice president. 2 things. You got to be making money. You got to be making money. So you got to make at least 50,000 a year minimum. Why? And then you also have to have a good replacement. Josh is going to talk about that. But if you can make 50,000 now, you can do it as a vice president or more, right? So that's why we want to start talking about this stuff, guys. So Josh is going to go into a little bit more of the mentality as far as getting to 50K.
All right. For those of you who are still awake,